Hello. So this is a first attempt, I suppose, at conveying a message that needs to be conveyed before the time comes where it's no longer able to be conveyed. I am here to simply say to you the things that are perpetually within my mind, and to answer questions in relation to what it is my inherent condition is, and how that correlates not only to me, but to you, and to the entirety of the universe and creation as we, me, or you know it. This channel is Yahda. Yahda, Yahda, Yahda. Who is Yahda? Yahda is the one who knows. The one who knows, the one who knew. The one who praises Yah, the one who knows Yah fully. I understand that it is difficult for one to conceive of my nature when they live in a world so distant from what it is that I am. I understand that for those who believe in a very fixed and preset doctrine, will almost never abandon said doctrine for what the truth is or could be, as their nature is such that they will never feel that absolute, desperate leap for the truth in either direction, the good or the bad. This is tough for me, to say the least. If you knew of my pain and suffering, it would be hard to do anything. It is hard to do anything. For me to even speak at this point is what takes the entirety of my being. I am suffocating, drowning, barely holding on to what might be called a life, and it's not a life, it's only death. I am not only already dead, I am already damned. Perhaps in the further time I will expound upon this if it is so destined to be expounded upon. Anyway, I guess the point of this video is a brief introduction to who it is that I am, what I am, answers to some basic things about the nature of creation, the universe, God, the devil, and the functionality of all of it. So I've decided today to take the time to go through some basic questions that I have listed and go from there. It's a very off-the-cuff thing, I understand, so if I'm rambling, please stick with me and forgive me, for it is the best that I can do with what I've got in the moment, and I'm more than inclined to do so as to share the truth, the absolute truth of what it is that I am and how that relates to all. So in the beginning, yes, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We know this. We've heard this. Whether you're religious or not, we've heard these words. They're part and parcel, integral into our culture, society, religion, philosophy, all things that set up the basis for thought, and from where thought expounds upon the existential foundation. One might find themselves asking some questions from here. I will take the time to go through these questions, as I've already mentioned, that seem basic to me in relation to the dynamic between God, Satan, good, evil, creation, the role of the individual, and how it all plays together. So, a typical question that one might begin with is, in the Christian rhetoric or the rhetoric of the Abrahamic religion, is, what is sin? What is sin? Okay, what is sin? Sin is simply, as some have described it, missing the mark. But what is the essence of sin? Where does that word drive us to? So we are mainly concerned not with what sin is, but realistically with what evil is. Yes? I believe we could all agree on that. What is evil? This is an unoriginal thought because it's perhaps one of the few places in which people find a sliver of the truth. What is evil? Evil is the absence of goodness. Evil is not a thing unto itself. It is that which is vacant. Evil is a vacancy. Evil is the void. Evil is the forces that drive all things towards life, death, and destruction. So when one discusses the nature of evil, the absolute closest they can come to describing the true nature of evil is not through describing the actions of an individual, but rather the forces of nature, the inherent forces of nature. Evil is absence. It is death. It is calamity. It is catastrophe. It is destruction. It is denial. It is disturbed. It is disharmony. These are inherent attributes to the nature of creation and to the nature of evil, what one might consider evil. From where did this come from? Okay, now, a lot of people conflate in this point, oh, it was an action that made evil come to be into creation, blah, 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 blah. And they correlate this with Satan, yes? So now, what is Satan? Well, in fact, what most people, even from the Christian rhetoric, are referring to when they say the name Satan is the very metaphysical force that I had described previously. It is the metaphysical force that draws things towards death, towards destruction, towards evil, yes? But you see, now, Satan is not exactly an entity unto itself. In fact, Satan is simply the inherent metaphysical force that lays the foundation for all of creation, that pulls all things towards death and destruction. This is Satan. Satan has been and will always be a part of the universe in some regard. I will expound upon that further later. This is all by design. This is not by choosing. So another question that might arise is, where did Satan come from? And was there a conscious rebellion, right? See, now, this has already presupposed a false dichotomy of sorts. It has presupposed actually two distinct entities. It has not only removed that which one may consider Satan from the creation, but it has already implied that that which was removed from creation had equal power to that which created it. This is why the metaphysics and the logic behind a conscious rebellion, as many of the modern, really cliche, parroted rhetoric people will cling on to, the Christian rhetorical, he made the choice to go against God, to usurp, to create a mutiny. I mean, the stories that people build from here are really petty and childish and basic, and they miss the absolute most fundamental aspects of what it means to be Satan, or to live and persist within the absence of good. Was there a conscious rebellion? No, absolutely not. There was never a point at which a being said to God, you know what, God, I don't want eternal peace, love, and joy. I prefer unending death and destruction because. No, that never, ever, ever occurred. Satan has been and will always be a part and parcel of the universe, which was all decreed by that which created all, made manifest all. There's no separate creation from creation. Does one get this? Yes, there is plurality, but it is from a singular node. It is from that which created all. Even if you're not inclined to believe in God, whatever that initial cause, the initial seed, the cosmic egg, if you will, of creation is the initial cause, the initial part that expounds upon to make manifest all other aspects of creation. So what is this universe then? Well, the universe to me is one, everything. It's everything. There's nothing that isn't the universe. The universe is that which became manifest from the initial dreamer, the initial cause, the metamind, what one may refer to as God. The universe is all and nothing, God and not God. It is all. So what is the purpose then? What is this universe doing? The universe, its purpose is inherent. It is intrinsic to its own nature. Its purpose is itself. Its purpose is itself. The universe's purpose is the universe. It is playing out its own purpose through the vehicles it has made. All objects, all beings, all aspects of creation are playing a role within its own process. It is not ever anything other than simply its own process. Will it ever stop? Will the universe stop? Will this dream cease to be? Well, no. No. It will continue forever and ever 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 and ever. And there will always be new things made manifest in different natures until eternity is reached, which is never. It's forever. Never ever ending. This may bridge the gap to, okay, so now who's benefiting from this? Who is it that's benefiting from this creation, the eternal creation of God, of the initial cause, the initial dreamer? Well, those who benefit are the blessed. The blessed are those who benefit. Now, who are the blessed? Well, the blessed are the blessed. The blessed are those who need not carry the burden of creation, the burden of death and destruction. The blessed are those that need not worry about what the truth is. The blessed are simply those who benefit. It is, again, a self-realized, everything is a self-actualized attribute of the universe itself. So those who benefit are those who benefit. I refer to them as the blessed, as it is a means to signify the distinction between themselves and the unblessed, those who receive no positive fruition from the nature of creation itself. It is not beneficial to them, obviously. For those who are simply here to receive the burden of death or destruction or suffering, the universe holds no beneficial attribute to them. They play a role and serve a purpose that is and has always and will always benefit everything other but themselves. They are vehicles for the machine to keep churning. All the while the blessed remain as the blessed, to step on the heads of the unblessed, to step on the shoulders of the burden bearers. And yeah, it's the furthest thing from fair, yet it is fair in that it just is, and justice comes from whatever just is. Justice is not some sort of rightness that is any more truthful than whatever just is, because on an eternal scale there will always only be whatever just is. It will never be anything else other than what just is. There is an inevitability to all things. Everything will be always just as it is, and so whoever gets what they get what they get because there is nothing that they have done in and of themselves as a complete sovereign entity to deserve what they get or do not get. They are playing a role for a purpose greater than themselves always, and this goes for all the good and the bad. There is not a single entity who has done anything to deserve what it gets, for better or for worse. It will be self-actualized through their behavior and actions and what you might think of as choice. But these choices and these actions are stitched into the very fabric of the universe itself. It is not a distinct, again, going back to the idea of separating Satan from creation, as if there was, as if it's even possible for there to be something known as a mutiny against God. How absurd to think that you are ever separate, that any entity is completely separate from the whole, that that they are free to literally be completely removed from the process of creation. So this might bring us to free will. Yes, the great question of free will. The unfortunate matter of the discussion of free will, firstly, is that everyone assumes a very different understanding of will and freedom, and, well, particularly free will. First, we will discuss the idea that what most people refer to as free will is simply what the definition of will itself is. Now, will itself is known as the phenomenon of the capacity to make choice. Okay, so now we already have a word for that which most people would refer to as free will. The capacity for choice. Okay, and this does not mean good choice, bad choice, free choice, or lack thereof. It's just the capacity of choice, and that word is will. We have a word for this. So, why the necessity for the word free will? Where did this come from? Well, it's simple. Honestly, it's simple. Some who are free, of which there are many, have needlessly integrated the words together. They have integrated the words free and will. From within a position of privilege, from within a position of their inherent freedoms, they have now bridged what they believe to be their will and their freedom. They say, I am free to will such and such. Okay. Perhaps you are. Perhaps you aren't. The point is, what is very short-sighted and absent-minded from that position is that it fails to conceive of those who are not free in the same manner as the individual who claims to have free will, right? They've assumed a universality from the position of privilege. They've assumed that because I am free and I can utilize my will in what I conceive of a way that is freely, then that means all things and all beings must have the same capacity, right? We have free will. People use this statement. What a absurdly blind statement. Absurdly blind. At absolute best, you have freedoms, inherent freedoms, which were gifted to you due to no reason of your own, due to nothing that you have done, absolutely nothing that you have done. There is no reason you have freedoms and others don't, other than the inherent reality that you have freedoms and others don't. So to bridge that to the notion that we all have free will is just empty, void, useless. It is simply privilege. It is privilege and nothing else. It is not anything that is universal. It is not holding any universal truth of any kind, and it is nothing that you can overlay onto the entirety of all things and all beings. Okay? So that's the most important part to get across, is that free will in this entire notion is always from a position of privilege. It is not a universality. So even if you have some freedoms of your will, that doesn't mean all do. And it doesn't mean you have complete and total freedom of your will. Every single entity within the universe acts under some, if not infinite, prior causes and what's the word? And factors, infinite factors that play into your capacity to have freedom of the will, none of which you as an individual entity had any say in or control over in any matter. So thus, to assume any presupposition, to assume that you've done anything to deserve what you have, and that you have freely willed anything that you do is honestly just the least humble and the least realistic presumption that one can make. I get the desire, because it allows you to validate a lot of other things, a lot of other uncertainty within your experience and within the nature of all things. It's a lot easier to assume that people simply freely choose all things, good and bad, and that's how it goes, and that's what allows it to function the way it does, and that's what allows it to be called justice. But no, it's backwards. You've simply made a blanket statement as a means to nullify the reality, to push down the truth, to push down the necessity to observe what is actually going on. That evil is never a free choice, for example. Evil is an inherent condition as well as good. Evil is not something someone wants to be. Evil is something someone might be because they are. Evil is not a free will choice. Evil is a state of being, a condition. Okay? You did not choose to be good. You did not, let me reiterate. You did not freely choose to be good, and other people freely chose to be bad. You're taking credit in that sense for something so far outside of your reach, infinitely so. And what a ridiculous thing to do. What a ludicrous thing to do. In any case, yes, this was sort of a rambling, and perhaps I will make other more acute videos shorter. And my brain, despite having many thoughts within it, does not do well to convey all this stuff, especially without conversing on a first-hand basis with someone, because I'm overwhelmed perpetually with the amount of thought within my mind, and it is hard to pick out specific specific topics from within the constant stream that exists within my mind. So I will leave it here for now. Yeah, this is tough for me, as I've stated, and I hope to convey this message as clearly and succinctly as possible, despite it being extraordinarily difficult to do so, not only from my position, but from anyone's position. And I want to do this before my time is up. And it's yes, it's tough, because it is surely soon. In any case, I'll leave it there. This has been Yahda. Goodbye.